Hello everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another card video at my YouTube channel. Today I have a card for you made with supplies from Simon Says Stamp's latest card kit. I initially made this video for Simon, so thank you so much to Simon for letting me share. Just want to give you a quick update on my health issues. I'm feeling much better. My energy is coming back, but it turns out I'm recovering from mono. There's that. But anyway, this card has a great message for you, and let's get going. Today I'm looking at the April 2020 card kit, which includes this stamp set called Follow the Rainbows and a bunch of other really fun supplies. I'm going to look at the supplies first and then we're going to get into the card. There are 4 of these coloring cards from Susie Plantamura. Such cute, fun designs for springtime. There's also 2 envelopes. There's a white envelope and then this intense blue, I think that's the island blue shade, that matches all of these pattern papers. Now these pattern papers I think are the real showstopper from this kit. In fact, I love these pattern papers so much that I'm really going to focus on them for today's card. And if you know me and any of my card making, I'm really not that big into pattern papers. Like I really like to stamp and kind of make my own patterns. But those pattern papers are they're too perfect. There's also the Clouds for Days stencil, which I'll be using today. And then we've got this pack of, first we're going to look at the embossing powder. This is some white ultrafine embossing powder. I'll also use that in today's card. And then this, Island Crush pack of hybrid inks. And then 5 pieces of cardstock. Only going to be using the white cardstock today, but those colors match perfectly with the pattern papers. The first thing I did was I trimmed down this diagonal rainbow striped pattern to be 5.5 by 4.25. So it's the exact size as my card. I'm then taking the cloud stencil and I've kind of put it at a little bit of an angle, and then I'm figuring out where I want my sentiment to sort of nestle in to that stencil edge. And I'm planning to cut out the area right above this cloud line. So this stamping right here is just for temporary purposes for my planning of the card design. So I've just stamped that in place, and I'm taking a pencil and tracing the line of this stencil right below that greeting. I'm then going to turn the stencil around to a different edge and kind of stencil the other side so that I have 2 cloud edges. Taking my scissors and very carefully, very slowly cutting out these cloud edges. I'm going very slow so that I have a nice curve to all of these kind of bumps on the cloud edge. I don't want it to look careless or not quite perfect. So if you end up making a card like this or use this particular technique, just take your time, slow down a little bit, and it'll look great. Using a pencil to clean off any pencil lines. And then I cut my card base. I'm using the white cardstock in the kit. I cut it at 4.25 lengthwise to create a top folding card. This card is scored at 5.5, so the finished size will be the exact size of that pattern paper that I cut earlier. So I've placed the folded card inside my MISTI Stamp Positioning tool. I folded it closed, placed the pattern paper on there temporarily so that I could get this greeting position just right. After I have the stamp on the door of my MISTI, I then removed the pattern paper and then stamped the greeting in some VersaFine Onyx Black ink. This is going to make it so that the greeting is in the exact spot to nestle in between those 2 halves of the pattern paper. I then took some foam adhesive and put it on the back of those cut pieces and adhered them to my card. At this point, I didn't know I was going to be doing some other things to the card, and I think in hindsight, if I was to make this again, I would not have adhered the pattern paper to the card at this point. I would have done it after the stenciling you're about to see. I used the interior full cloud shapes to stencil on some Versamark ink. I'm just adding these cloud shapes using the Versamark and then coating it in the white embossing powder from the kit. Put a coffee filter down just to catch the embossing powder so that I can later funnel it back into the embossing powder jar. Now, I did not use an anti-static powder tool on this. I probably should have because I needed to do a lot of cleanup. But I just used a dry paintbrush to sweep away any of that embossing powder that was out of the area where I wanted it. Then used my heat tool to heat set the embossing powder until it was melted. I added 2 more clouds to the card. I added a larger cloud on the bottom half of that pattern paper, and then I also added another cloud in the upper portion. Now, this is where you really want to make sure you have a brush to sweep things away, because I had a lot of embossing powder that kind of went down into that crevice. I heat set that until it was melted once again. And then, like I said before, I did add a 3rd cloud. Just put that up above, kind of hanging off the edge. At this point, I realized I wanted to add more red onto this card because the red was kind of lost in that bottom corner. So I'm taking another piece of pattern paper and I'm using 3 hearts from the Nested Hearts die set from Simon. And I've cut these out in a couple of different colors along this pattern paper, kind of depending on where I want to have them placed on the card. I also adhered the hearts to some white cardstock, and then use my scissors to cut them out with a little bit of a border around the outside edge. This is just going to help the hearts stand out on top of that rather colorful background. Put some foam tape behind all of the hearts, and then use my tweezers to place them onto the card. So the design is basically done, but I felt like I was missing something. So I decided to take my T-square ruler and a black marker and just go around the outside edge, giving a little bit of a dashed border. This is going to help tie in that black greeting and just give it a more finished look. Also maybe a little more homespun. It almost looks like a faux stitch line. I think it looks really, really neat. So that is the card for today. I hope you guys are inspired. There are so many wonderful, fun, and colorful things you can do with the April 2020 card kit. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hopefully I'll be back very soon with some more card inspiration. Until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.